might have heard somebody somewhere along the way say, turn your mess into your message, or your pain into your purpose, or your trial into your triumph, right? And they were referring to that in storytelling. And you might be saying to yourself, well, then how do I do that? I'm not so sure even how I turn my mess into my message and tell my story. Well, I can tell you this, if you're in business, it's really important that you weave in elements of your story so that you can attract your right clients and customers. In this next video, I'm going to share with you a couple of tips and ways that you can do that effectively, and you can turn your mess into your message. And for more tips on storytelling, public speaking, and methods to leverage your story, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. And so let's jump into this topic of telling your story and turning your mess into your message. All right, so who am I and what do I know about storytelling? I'm Darieth Chisolm, and storytelling is all I do. I have a storied 30-year career as a television news anchor and a reporter, and I've racked up some hardware. I've won a couple of Emmys for my work as a TV host and interviewer. I'm also an award-winning filmmaker and an author, and all I do is work with women worldwide on ways that they can get seen, get heard, and get paid by leveraging their story. So enough about me, this is about you, and how do you tell your story? Now, there are lots of different ways to tell a story, and on this video, clearly I'm not going to be able to get into all of the details around it. But what I do want to do is just share with you a couple of things. And first and foremost, you have to be prepared to take risks with your storytelling. Basically, you really do need to share the ins and outs, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it when you are telling a story. And the reason why is because none of us is perfect. And the more relatable you can be with the person hearing your story, and whether this is you speaking on stage, whether you're being interviewed, or you're writing copy for your next blog post, or some marketing material that you're going to put on a Facebook ad. The point of it is that the more real you can be and raw and relatable, the more mess you can share, the more someone else sitting across the room listening to you says, she's not perfect. She's just like me. She's been there too. She gets it, right? There's something to be said about you taking a risk and sharing it, sharing your vulnerability, and, letting people know, hey, this is what I've been through. But you too can get over it. What happens is that people see themselves in your story, but if you haven't taken them there, if you haven't given yourself permission to expose the things that people can absolutely relate to, there's no relatability. So take risks. Allow yourself to share your mess and let that turn into your message as part of the way that you share your story. So this second tip is probably more for when you're speaking on stage, or maybe when you are being interviewed and you are telling your story. And that is that you don't want to tell it, you want to show it. In fact, you want to paint pictures with your words. Now, what do I mean by this? You want to be as descriptive as you possibly can, so that you are literally bringing people into the story at a point in time where they are visualizing what it is that you're saying, and they're not just listening to it. So you've got to show it. So here, I'll give you an example. I can remember one point in my life, and there's certainly been many of them, when things were really rough, and I didn't think I was going to make it through, and I just felt awful about what was going on, and I felt like I couldn't do anything about it. Like, that's me telling you that. But if I were to show it to you, or if I were to paint a picture, I would probably describe it this way. There was one night when I could not get myself up off the floor. In fact, I had cried so much that my dark hardwood floor had a gray stain on it from the tears that I had been crying for over an hour laying there. I felt like my stomach was just in knots, and my fingers hurt so bad from clenching, because I was just so angry about where I got, like what my life had come to, and what I was being made to feel like, this awful pent-up victim. So that's just a difference there, right? I could go on, I could paint it even further, but I'm really hoping to paint for you an example of why it's so important when you are telling your story that you are painting a clear picture in the minds of people so that they visualize it as they're listening to it. So you show them and not just tell them. Here's a third tip. And by the way, I've got many of them. And if you'd like to get more of my tips, you certainly can just check out any of the videos that I have here on my YouTube channel. And I hope that they are in service to you. But the third tip for today is you really do want to engage the listener. And there are lots of ways that you can engage listeners, but the more that you engage a listener when you are telling your story, the more that your story is incorporated for them, which means that they can make meaning of it. And some ways that you can engage a listener is simply by asking them a question. Even when I'm giving a speech in front of a large audience, I will stop and ask the audience a question and literally raise my hand and say, does this relate to you? Are you feeling exactly what it is that I'm feeling? Have you been through this before? Where you get the listener to not only identify it with a yes or a no, but they also put their hand up so that they are physically being engaged in the part of the story that you are delivering. You can engage your listeners in other ways, like physically, literally engaging them, right? Again, if you're on stage and you want to find a way where you can have the audience do something physically to be engaged with your story, that's awesome. It could be that you ask them to stand up or to, shake a hand or to change seats with someone. There's so many ways that you can engage the listener. But when you find ways to do that, you can, people just, they remember you. And I tell a lot of my clients, if you don't do anything to really engage a listener and engage the audience, they won't necessarily remember you. You have to find ways to make yourself memorable, and engaging your listener is just one of the ways. If you want to find out more ways that you can not only engage your listener, not only find ways to paint pictures with your words, and of course, turn your mess into your message, or better yet, find ways to take risk in your storytelling. And if you want more training and in-depth tips on how you can turn your mess into your message and be a risk taker when it comes to storytelling, as well as ways that you can paint pictures with your words and find out a few ways to engage your audience, I've got a free training for you. All you need to do is to go to Darieth.com/speaker marketing and register for the free live training that I do. And I also take your questions live as well. And that training will be of use for you, particularly if you are serious about telling a powerful story and finding ways to market yourself as a speaker. So I invite you to check out that resource. I will provide a link down below so you can then just click on the link and go out and register yourself for the training. So I want to also invite you to check out my other videos here on my YouTube channel for more ways that you can learn about storytelling, public speaking, and methods to leverage your story. So I will see you in the next video.